Thank you, Jane. Your Excellency, Ms. Michelle Bachelet, President of the Republic of Chile, Vice-Chancellor and former First Lady of the Republic of South Africa, Mrs. Graça Machel, former First Lady of the Republic of South Africa, Ms. Mbuyiselo, respective ministers of the Republics of South Africa and of Chile, Ambassador of the Republic of Chile in South Africa, Mr. Gabriel Zepeda, trustees of the Nelson Mandela Foundation and Chief Executive Officer of the Foundation, Mr. Selo Hatang, former Vice-Chancellors of UCT, Dr. Mampela Rampele, President of the SRC, Chair of Convocation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to have been invited to host this event, this important dialogue around the position of women and gender issues at the University of Cape Town. As an institution of higher education, and especially a research institution that focuses on bringing positive change to South Africa and to other parts of the developing world, to Africa, and to the world more generally, we have a special affinity to an event such as this. Today you will meet some of our academics, and I know you have already met some of them in the pre-session, who are directly involved in teaching and research at this university and at some of the others in the region. For example, they represent the Gender, Health and Justice Research Unit, which does interdisciplinary research that unites scholars, NGOs and practitioners in the pursuit of the elimination of violence against women and children in Southern Africa. There are speakers and representatives from the School of African and Gender Studies, Anthropology and Linguistics, from the Africa Gender Institute, which is a feminist research unit committed to political work on the African continent, with a focus on writing, publications, research processes and partnerships, and network building and participative learning. The Center for Law and Society, a critical and very influential voice in debates about customary law and traditional leadership, and the tensions that arise when those customary law systems live side by side or within Western constitutional democracies. The Institute for the Humanities, for the Study of the Humanities in Africa, also has a number of researchers here today who focus on gender and sexuality. So, the study of gender and sexuality and reproductive health is certainly a major concern of ours. And of course, it's the implementation of that in the wider society that this dialogue hopes to promote. I have the privilege of introducing you to an individual who is the formal host of the event today, Mrs. Graça Machel, who has played an important role in the history not only of South Africa, but certainly of Mozambique and of the African continent. And we're especially privileged to enjoy her influence at UCT as our beloved Chancellor. Mrs. Machel, born in southern Gasa province of Mozambique, there are different Gasa from the one just being referred to, studied Germanic languages at Lisbon University, and during Mozambique's War of Independence from Portugal, she worked underground in Mozambique's liberation movement, Frelimo, which had set up schools in liberated territories and within their training camps in neighboring Tanzania. After independence, she became the Secretary of State for Education in the liberated Mozambique, and soon became Minister of Education and Culture in the post-independence Mozambique government, and the only woman in cabinet. She held the post for 11 years and can claim many successes in that post, such as cutting illiteracy by 22% and increasing the school-going population from less than 500,000 to 1.6 million. So it is her history steeped in liberation struggle and in education that positions her particularly well to be our Chancellor and to speak to us or to host this event. She's also, as you know, worked alongside two great liberation leaders who led their respective countries to freedom, the late President Samora Machel and, of course, the late President Nelson Mandela. And in both these marriages, she stood out as not only a support to her husband's work, but as a leader in her own right. So, as the Vice-Chancellor of UCT, it gives me great pleasure to invite Mrs. Machel to the podium to welcome you all and to say a few words.
Please visit. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. President Michelle, I'm difficult to treat Michelle as president. I know she's president, but she has been such a good sister and friend. I always treat her as Michelle. I'm sorry, and it's not anything of disrespect, but I feel much more comfortable to say, welcome, Michelle, to this university. And welcome to all of you to this very important day for UCT. As an institution, we pride ourselves of being very much part of the debate of issues of fundamental importance for our society. UCT prouds itself of a variety of programs in which we do research, but more than doing research, we interact with communities, mostly in Western Cape where we are based, but with the whole country, but even with the rest of the continent. As you know, UCT is considered one of the best institutions, tertiary institutions in the world. We interact not only with Africa, with the global community. So it is for us a fundamental issue to debate and to find some insights for challenges which are of human race, human family nowadays. Just if I can go a little bit out of the theme, I consider that for human family today, there are two major challenges which we are grappling with. We have no clear path of how to deal with them to solve. One is race, second is gender. If you look around the world, there's no many countries who can praise themselves of having managed to have a cohesion of society in which the issue of race is not a challenge. To accept one another regardless of our pigmentation and to say race is not a problem. Even in societies which are more integrated, but if you go deep, you realize that there is still stratification on the basis of race. Am I lying? No. Second, it's gender, and which is our discussion today. And I don't intend to preempt the bright minds which are going to enlighten us this morning, but I would like just to submit this. We seem to have developed very sophisticated instruments, legal instruments, conventions, protocols, agreements, constitutions, laws, and regulations. We actually have, at least in the case of South Africa, we do have very strong institutions which are expected to implement issues of equality in our society. But it looks like the more we are conscious of this and the more we implement them better, women are being targeted and women are victims of violence, very severe violence. It looks like the rise of women in the political, economic, let me say at workplace. So in public space, the rise of women in public space, it is enacting a process in which men feel they are losing power and control And because of that, it is at the private level. It is in the family where violence is more acute. Because publicly, you can, but you have much less space of being physically violent. There's a lot of psychological violence against, even at workplace. Again, there's very few countries, I don't think there's actually any country which can say it has reached equal work, equal pay. Although legislation is there, but a challenge is that no country can say we have reached a level in which we can say equal work, equal pay for women. So we are still at the public level, we're still grappling with that. And of course, harassment and the difficulties for promotion, all those kinds of things we know. But it is a global phenomenon today that violence against women is rife and rife. Women are being killed in the hands of those who claim to love them, those who should protect them, and they should be proud of their success. It means the more successful they are being much more targeted. So to me, I think we need to, in our debate, to continue, yes, definitely with the public space. But maybe we have to question more deeply the private space and to question the concept and how to deconstruct the concept of masculinity. More than just gender violence, because we can say people are being targeted, but what is it behind this issue of masculinity? And at the end of the day, it will come back to us as women, because we are the mothers who are bringing up these boys and girls. And it is, in my view, something which we have to question very seriously, and knowing clearly it is to be tough, because it means transformation of the individual. It's not a transformation of institutions. It's not transformation of the public debate. It's transformation of the individual, men and women. And it is planting the seeds of society in which a relationship between men and women are to be really rooted in equality, acceptance of one another, and to be equal. So we have a long, long journey. And I think we don't have a shortcut on this. But we need to deconstruct these issues clearly so that we know, as you were mentioning, it took us, I don't know how many decades for us to reach freedom. And freedom of spirit in this case, freedom of spirit both for men and women to accept one another as equal, it is going to take the same long road, I think. And this is what here as UCT we offer a space for debate, taking responsibility that our own research, and I have to acknowledge many of our researchers here, heads of department, heads of institutions who have been really very, very, very much engaged with these issues, to thank you for what you have been doing, but to say we still need to interrogate even more, and we still to engage society in debate much more often. I want to finalize saying this. It strikes me that there is no much outrage. Society is not outraged against violence. We seem to be very, it's okay. We know it exists, it's a problem, but we don't seem the same kind of outrage which would be accepted to say this cannot continue. So one is we have to continue with this research and the debates, but I think we need to build a social outrage, a social movement of outrage, so that those who target women, they should feel isolated. They should feel absolutely isolated. They should be ashamed of getting out of the house because they are targeting women. And it's up to us. I don't know, We'll discuss this in another space. But it's up to women to engage in this movement, to say enough is enough. We are not going to accept it anymore. And then to, of course, bring along men, bring along our young people, particularly our young men and women, our children, so they grow in an environment where they know it is unacceptable for you to violate a woman. And that's where we have to go. Thank you so much, Michelle. We look forward to your contribution and the contribution of these very, very bright minds who are sitting here. As UCT, we are really, really, really honored that during your first visit to South Africa, this is a place you felt you should come and share with us. Thank you.